You're watching a Fact TV presentation of the town of Swanzey.
o'clock. I'll call to order the August 28th meeting of the Swansea Planning Board here at Wickham Hall. Begin with the roll call. Scott Self, that's me, I'm here. Michael York.
Here.
Richard Lane.
Here.
Brandon Self.
Here.
Victoria Ames.
Here.
Mark Scalera.
Here.
Jane Johnson, alternate, not here. Stacia Goodell,
Here.
alternate. And we still have a vacant alternate on there. And Selectmen's Representative Mark.
Here.
What the hell is on here? Okay, yeah, you're gonna be on here for a while then, probably. Okay. Let's see, the agenda then for the evening is approval of minutes of August 14th, 2025. And we have no public hearings on board. Under discussions and other business, we have a new tenant application, 2A Tommy's Way, Swansea, New Hampshire, and any other business as may be required. We do not need a regional impact motion because there's nothing on here. So we will move right to the approval of the minutes of August 14th. Is there a motion to approve minutes of August 14th?
So moved.
Motion by Mark to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Richard. Is there any further discussion, changes, or?
Yes,
Yes.
just, and I made this suggestion, when we make a change to the previous minutes, that we cite the item that's being changed, not as it reads right now.
It says that there was just a change.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's just saying it's
Yeah.
a change and we don't know what the change is. So just cite it like we have in the past.
Okay, so that's not a change to these minutes though, correct?
No, it's,
Okay.
okay.
So, any other changes to the minutes? Adam?
I don't agree.
Let's discuss it after we get the motion done. Any other discussion on the minutes? And all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, Adam, you don't agree with that because of?
The whole point of draft minutes is that they're drafted.
Mhm.
Once you make the changes, then they become finalized. I don't think you need to show the changes in the finalized version.
Well, yeah, but he's got a point too, that it doesn't have to be the exact change. If it's, especially if it's something off, if it's a small change, it could be, housekeeping, bookkeeping rather, housekeeping. If it's a large change, yeah, I can see not writing the whole thing down there, but your change was what?
No, just the seconding of that motion to kill 3B or 2B, whatever it was, okay? And it was, I didn't second it. Brandon.
So there's a,
Different second, yeah.
You seconded it, I thought.
Oh, excuse me, was it Mike?
I made it.
You made it, oh, Mike, I
Mike
guess
seconded
Mike
it.
seconded it, yeah.
so there is a change to the minutes.
There was a change, we made that change
Oh,
in the last,
I know,
but what
I
I'm
got you
saying,
now.
what I'm
Okay.
saying is that
yeah,
because it doesn't go back into the previous meeting's minutes and change.
mm-hmm.
And so it still remains, if somebody wants to go in and read the minutes, it doesn't show that change.
I see,
It may be in the official,
Approved minutes.
yeah.
On the website, it showed their changes.
It would be on the website, yeah, it'd have to be on the website because they were changed. But it could mention something generic as to, like what he's saying, that the second to the motion on so-and-so's motion was changed, something like that, if you wanted generically like that. Yeah, you shouldn't have to put the whole change on both places, our minutes, the revised minutes, and the other minutes, right? But
Yeah,
I know you're saying that it's,
yeah,
yeah.
just the correction, that
be on there.
needs to be cited, that's all.
Correction, well, I suppose then if there's a correction to be made to the minutes, who's ever making the correction can say whether or not it should go into those minutes, I would say, at that meeting,
If it's requested, sure. I
Yeah.
still don't.
Yeah, as a general practice, you say don't bother doing it, and yeah, you've got a point there too, but Richard's got a point also. So let's leave it up to whoever makes the motion to change the minutes, if they want that mentioned in the minutes, current minutes of the current meeting,
Okay.
is what you're talking about.
My thing is, and it's no disrespect, but when Beverly was taking the minutes, if we made a change, she in that change, when we
She would say
voted,
what it was.
she
Yeah,
went
you're
back
right.
and cited
Yep, you're right.
exactly, and that, that's all I'm asking for.
And I don't have a problem with that either, I could go either way. I don't know, what about the rest of the board?
Is it easier?
Brandon,
Either way.
either way with you, Mark? You don't care?
Well, I was gonna say,
Victoria?
I always like to be able to research things, so it feels like having,
You'd be in favor of
I'd be
that?
for having it spelled out, just because.
Mark,
that's
what do you
just
think?
me.
yeah, I was just gonna ask Susan, it's probably better, I would think, tell me if I'm wrong, if it's consistent one way or the other, right?
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, so
I mean, I would like it to be a procedure that I follow.
yeah. So
Okay, let's say-
I think we should capture it, because I think that's gonna cover all the scenarios.
I agree with that too. Mike,
I agree.
you do? And I know
Yeah.
you agree too,
Yeah.
but you have to say yes or no. Yes?
Yes.
Right, okay, yes. Okay, and you're not a voting member, but I'm gonna get your consensus anyways?
Yes.
Yes, okay, so let's change that procedure then, that the actual change will be spelled out in the minutes. And we just overruled Adam.
Did we ever vote on approving the minutes yet?
Yeah,
Yeah, we did.
We did that vote.
Voted on
Yeah,
it?
we voted on it so we,
First and seconded, but did we?
no,
Yes.
we voted on it so we could discuss this afterwards, because it wasn't part of that motion.
There you go. Must getting old.
All right, so moving along, that brings us to the discussions and other business, which is a
No.
new,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
which is a new tenant application for 2A Tommy Way, Swanzey, New Hampshire. And what is that all about? And where is that?
YYBA.
It's a YBA muffin.
So where is it? It's at,
Up here, yeah, okay.
um,
Yeah, have a seat.
it used to be California Street.
Yeah, now I know what you mean.
But
Yep.
now it's Tommy's Way.
Yep.
And, so this is an existing building. There was a tenant in there previously that was working on, tractor trailer equipment. He's moved out, and this is a new tenant that's moving in.
It looks
So
like
no changes to the building, and if anything, it's actually going to be, there's gonna be no traffic. We're not gonna have the big tractor trailer trucks anymore, and doesn't have customers coming, so,
And it sounds like a machine shop then.
yep.
Yep. Well, then we're here to decide whether that needs to come for a site plan review in front of us, or if it's just a modification that can be signed off by the planning department. Brandon, what do you say?
I'd say Adam could sign off on it myself.
I think we can sign off on it. Or,
Me, yes.
or actually,
No,
I
no.
can sign off on
I'm
it.
just curious as to the solvents, et cetera, are gonna be used for, in the machine shop, how they're gonna be disposed of, or do we need to even go down that road?
I don't even know that we need to go down that road. We could. The fire department usually has control of all that stuff, and I'm sure that mechanic used solvents there before, I would think, cleaning parts and things like that. And whatever you did with them,
Yeah,
I
there's
don't know.
strict EPA rules on that stuff too.
There are, but
That
No,
the
it's-
fire department, the code enforcement officers should take care
in
of.
fact, the mechanic could be using more solvents than a machine shop. You know, they use coolants, but not necessarily solvents, you know. Water-soluble coolants generally is what a machine shop uses
For cutting?
for cutting.
Yep.
yes.
That's changed, because it used to be oil, or at least some sort of an oil-based solvent.
Well, it's an emulsified oil, but it's
Oh.
mixed with water.
Okay.
It's like a white milky.
Water is key.
Mhm.
Pardon me?
Water is key. That was an important part for it.
Well, then, I guess, looks like we're in consensus. Let's have a motion, yea or nay, to decide this.
I'll make the motion that,
That it's a
it's an admin thing for the,
site plan modification
Right.
can be signed by the
right.
planning director.
I'll second.
I think, if we wanna use like terminology, I think you guys can just make a motion to approve the new tenant application. That was sufficient.
All right. Sound good to you?
Yep, fine.
Motion to approve the new tenant application made by Michael York. Brandon seconded it. Is there any further discussion? Richard?
I don't know if we need to, but condition that the, I don't know, the fire department or whatever verifies the mechanisms of the solvent, getting rid of it, maintaining the stuff, or whoever has to do that, that's all. As a condition of the approval.
Do you want to put that into your motion?
Oh, yeah, we can do that. It's no big, that shouldn't be a big issue with them.
Okay. Does the second agree with that condition?
Sure.
Okay. So the condition is that the fire department basically inspect the building and what they're going to be doing. Any further discussion? Then all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, and there you go.
Thank you.
And the fire department, or actually, would you contact the fire department?
That'd be great, because I have a new key for the building, for that.
Okay, good.
Obviously, we
They'll
swapped
contact
out
you.
keys, so, and I need to put it in the Knox box.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay, great.
Good luck.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. So when we have those new tenant applications, Adam,
Yes.
if you have a site plan, just bring a copy of it. Not that we needed one tonight, but other times, just bring a copy, have it in case we need to take a look at the site plan, just for questions on parking and such things like that.
I can do that.
Great, thanks. Okay, that brings us down to discussions and other business as required. Now, let's see, Victoria had something.
Yes.
Yes.
It's not required, but I think it's interesting. And what it has to do with is the wetlands amendments that we've been working on. And I had gotten myself into just feeling really confused about all of it. And I was starting from the point of knowing that the Conservation Commission members are, incredibly qualified to do this research, and they know a lot about the topic, and, I'm listening to them, I'm working with them to try to draft amendments that address what the Conservation Commission thinks is appropriate for the town from an environmental perspective, but also to look at it through the lens of what we as a planning board typically need. And I just got to the point where I felt so incredibly muddled. And so I took a couple days and I started digging in. And I put together a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of data that I think could be helpful to all of us. It really helped me. And what I was thinking about it from the perspective of being an owner of wetlands. I own a lot of land and a lot of it is wet. In particular, the Belding pasture. I don't know if you guys do you know that pasture? It's on Route 32. It's a couple miles, I think it's like 2 miles south of town, and it's where Mike Johnson pastures his horses and that place, okay? So I've been taking care of that place since 2007, okay? And I was able to buy it 7 years later, but for those first all along, what I've been trying to do is restore it. And so I'm on that land all the time, okay? And it's 30 acres, and it floods, okay? And I've been able to, watch how the degree of flooding and the kind of flooding and the frequency of flooding that takes place over time. And so I'm thinking about, okay, so I have all this boots on the ground experience with wetlands, right? But then I've got this, my focus is town planning. So how to put those things together. And what I notice when the Belding pasture floods is that it holds a phenomenal amount of water. Okay, I've got some pictures in this thing I'll pass out. But the whole, it's 30 acres, the whole rear 20 acres gets submerged, okay? And that water floats across and it goes into the Goodell pasture next door and keeps on going, and if we're lucky, it doesn't swamp the Carlton Bridge, right? So that whole area, underwater. And, I'm out there horrified, oh no, my cattle are drowning. And then the next day, it's gone, okay? It all just sinks right into that land, okay? So it's recharging the aquifer that's there. So, this is basically it's just miraculous to me, and I'm out there loving it. So that's my, boots on the ground experience. But in terms of the planning board, I spent some time going through the old annual reports, which I have, they go back to, the beginning of time, looking at the master plan, looking at various documents that I could find online. I did a huge deep dive into case law that has to do with whether or not protecting wetlands is a taking, according to the Fifth Amendment. And then really researched how ordinances in New Hampshire have been looked at for quite a while. And put it all together, and I've got 4 top-line conclusions, okay? And I'll pass out this report, you guys can read it, it's illustrated. So my first thought is, as a planning board member, I feel like it's my duty to base decisions on the master plan and on sound planning practices, okay? And so that's why I went back in and found references in the 2022 master plan update that have to do with how we should be approaching protecting wetlands. And after that, I've been so confused about this whole idea of wetlands versus, or in consort with the land that surrounds wetlands. And I've been thinking of them for the longest time as like two separate things, and that's crazy. You know, they're two connected systems, all right? There is the, you know, what I call the juicy bits, you know, where it's clearly wet, wet, wet. And then there's the land that surrounds it, what we've been calling the buffer. But to have a dotted line that separates the two functionally is fallacious, right? It's that dotted line doesn't exist in terms of how that surrounding land interacts with the wet part. So that was a revelation for me. And then the third thing is that I started reading up on this idea of green infrastructure. And that I'm back looking at through the lens of town planning and how we have a duty to protect resources because, you know, we don't want people to be drinking dirty water, be flooded, but we also want to save the town money. And the way we do that is to the best of our ability to protect those things so that we don't have to go in after the fact and mop up the problems. So the literature suggests that green infrastructure, so-called, which is protecting these areas that can serve as bowls and basically sponges that surround the bowls to collect water, hold it, slowly let it dissipate out, that wherever possible, when towns can make use of those naturally occurring systems, we don't have to do as much repair after the fact, or as much construction of like water treatment plants. And then the final thing is the deep dive into the law, which, who knew? I mean, that was really interesting. So at first it was hard to find data that even addressed the issue of how case law has approached wetlands in particular. It was much easier to find case law that addresses laws that basically pertain to zoning. I mean, clearly zoning is legal because, you know, we do it and it works. So I have an entire list of the various, basically, all the rationale why we can feel confident that protecting wetlands is a legitimate objective of land use regulations and does not constitute a taking or a violation of U.S. constitutional rights. And so what I want to do is share this stuff. I just want to hand this out and hope that you'll have some time to take a look at it. I found certain things, top line, that were, I don't know, that since 1980, when we adopted our first wetlands conservation district,
Same thing.
our population density has increased 30%. Okay, so that means that we're packed in 30% more tightly on the land that we've always had in Swanzey. Our population has been growing at a much higher rate than Keene, which is why we're seeing a lot of the pressure that's coming from Keene. And I don't think these trends are going to change. The other thing that we're really seeing is a change in our weather patterns. And Scott knows I worry about that because we see many more frequent storms that bring huge amounts of rain all at once and flood us. And I really feel like as a town, as a planning board, we need to be responsible to managing that water so that we can protect the needs and the infrastructure of this town. So that's all I got. I don't really want to, I don't want to take the time to discuss it tonight because there's a lot to discuss, but I do hope that, I had so many questions, and by digging and digging and digging, I could answer a lot of them. So I hope if other people share some of those same questions, you might feel like I felt a great deal of relief.
Adam, did you get that stuff I gave you?
Well, you really did your homework.
Give it to Stefan.
I
There's
did.
a lot in here.
Yeah, and admire the glossy photos, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But like I say, I don't really wanna, I know that other people have many things to say, and nobody's prepared to have a big discussion on this tonight, so I'm just I wanna leave this stuff off, and I feel like we can return to it at a time when, we've got it on the agenda and everybody's ready, okay? I don't wanna drop this on people, but it's stuff to read.
Appreciate you taking the time to put it together for us.
It was interesting. Yeah.
But I do have just one comment on your, you're talking about the field down by you that floods, and then soaks
That
back
is
in.
my field, yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily mean it's a wetland, right? It could be floodplain, because floodplain
It
isn't
could be a
necessarily
floodplain.
wetland.
Yeah, it
So-
does have wetland areas in it, but it does function as a floodplain.
So we are talking about a couple different
Yeah.
things there, floodplain, of course, for the recharge area, for the aquifers, and for not building on them because you're getting flooded out.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things you're talking about with the weather patterns too. You get flooded, then I guess FEMA usually does adjust their floodplain maps. I don't know if they have here for a
Well,
while.
actually, I referred to that, they're in process.
Yeah, they're always in process though. Yeah.
But we're supposed to have them in 2 years according to the
Oh,
regional
yeah,
office.
yeah. All right, so something to think about. But yeah,
Yep.
thanks for putting that together for
Yeah.
us, and if everybody will read that, we can discuss that.
I gave Stefan this too.
And is that
The Fifth
for us
Amendment,
too? Yep.
eminent domain. This one's mine. I don't know what Stefan did with it.
Yeah, I have a copy of it, if you want me to include it in the packet.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the information, anything,
Just this one from Cornell University, law school.
just any of the information, that's pertinent to our discussions, definitely.
Yes, there he is,
We'd like to
because
see them.
there's a contradiction where she says it doesn't constitute a taking, but yet the Supreme Court ruling
Well,
and
let
court
it-
rulings
Let
does
us
say.
all get the information, then we can all discuss it. You've read it, you know what it means, but the rest of us haven't
I
read
would,
it
I
yet.
would love to know the cases, though, maybe you could, because I can
Well,
read.
I gave a whole package to,
Okay, you've got some
The
cases.
cases I mentioned in there.
yeah, cases of,
Case
the
numbers,
Supreme
right.
Court cases, upper court cases, things
Uh-huh.
like that, federal
Okay.
courts.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
It doesn't say you can't do it. What it says is you gotta do just compensation. And it
We'll
has
take
to
a
be
look at
market
that.
value.
And that pertains to New Hampshire, right?
Well, it's the Fifth Amendment and this is
Oh, you're talking
federal.
about, I thought
This
you were
is
talking about,
federal.
I thought you were talking about state, okay.
No, this is
That's
federal.
something different, all right.
When we get into the state, it's even more strict than the federal.
I got you, okay.
I'll be curious to hear what you think after you read the section that I have in there, because it might, where you see the contradictions.
All I'm saying is you can take property, but you have to do just compensation, which is market value, not lower the taxes.
So thank you for this,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
So let's see, anything else under new business, old business, and nobody's business?
Do you want
We
to,
have a few committees going on. One of them is deciding about the covered bridge down here, what could be done to keep trucks and things from crashing into it. The other committee is deciding on, not really deciding, but seeing if the town should go a different direction. There are several board members here on that committee as for town government. So the first one, the covered bridge one down there, it's a small committee, and they're thinking of, I think it's the town of Vermont, and I've got a picture of it in here too, and I'll just pass it right around. Putting up a steel I-beam across in front of the bridge, which personally, I'm not in a big favor. I'm gonna pass it that way and then back this way.
How
And
much it'll hurt the aesthetics of everything.
it's the thing about
part of the bridge.
the bridge.
Paint it red.
Yeah, paint it
Find
red,
out
but
real quick.
the bridge is, people like that bridge because it's pretty, it's beautiful.
You see
And
people take
you put a big I-beam in front of it, and it will probably stop a truck, but on our bridge down here, if you look at it, on this side of the bridge, there's not too much room to put one of those things. You've got Gamarla's house there, and you've got the drop-off of the little pump house on the other side.
Can they do that in clear?
Clear, yeah. And then on the other side, you've got the mill, where you can't really put anything there. They've got a driveway loading dock there, and you've got the park on the other side. So it was also discussed at that meeting, and it was, one of our selectmen, Jimmy, came up with something that other towns have used.
The laser.
Yeah, not on covered bridges. They've used them on low underpasses in cities. And what it is, it's basically a laser that shoots across that distance. It'd hit the height of the truck, we'll say, and then it fires off blinking lights, almost like a railroad crossing. Those yellow flashing lights, that type of thing.
Hook it up to a spike, see counts and
And they were talking about that too, which might be more feasible. We don't know which one costs. This one here, they're thinking costs about $20,000 per bridge, I think, or $20,000 per side, one or the other. He's gonna get prices on it. The other one is that flashing light thing. We don't know what that costs, but it looks like it might be feasible for our town. Basically, you could keep it away from the bridges. It could be maybe up close here at this intersection here, at least giving the trucks a chance to turn around and move over. And on the same way on the other, California Street there. And another possibility, which is even cheaper than that, would be putting large signs, big enough to read and understandable to read at the intersection up here, because it seems like most of the trucks that hit that bridge come from over here. They must be cutting from Route 12 down, come through here and hit the bridge and out that way, and they're gone. And, they're probably brought there by their GPS on their phones or their car, and once they get down there, because the sign says, there's a low underpass, but once you get down there, you're thinking there's no place to turn around. I'm just gonna sneak this thing through here, and I think that's
key, is
what they
that
do.
The sign is before a place to turn around and almost can.
Right at that intersection.
Indicate by another sign, turnaround route, right?
Well, no, if they had a sign at that intersection right there that said, pointed this way, good enough letter says covered bridge, could say the height where they're covered bridge, and then truck detour, 1,500 feet, and a line pointer, because they don't know there's another bridge 1,500 feet down the road.
Right.
If they did, they'd say, oh, only 1,500 feet. If it said detour, they're thinking, well, I don't want to drive 5 miles, I'm gonna try that covered bridge. But if it said just 1,500 feet down the road, you'd know, okay, there's another bridge down there I can go, and it might help that way too. And the same way maybe at the other end, we don't seem to have that problem down there, but we do have the problem coming this way. So those are the three things the committees are thinking about on that covered bridge thing.
I've always, so I have people trucking to me, with cattle
Yeah.
and going in and out, and I always have to, beware, the covered bridges. But they are using their GPS, and I wonder if we couldn't, install pins in the GPS system, which I know, you can put locations in there yourself.
You can, but that only works if the people using that app
Are using
update,
Google
do the
Maps.
update to it. You know what I mean? If they're using an older version of it,
It
then it's still
doesn't-
gonna go and point them down this
It
way.
doesn't carry forward, the pins don't
Right, like
stick.
if we use our cell phones, it then automatic updates on is one thing, but if they're using like an older Garmin or something like that
Okay.
that hasn't been updated, then they're not gonna get like that stuff.
Wouldn't it be
know?
nice though, right?
It would be, definitely,
Because if
because I
that's the
thought the
system we're
same
all
thing, I'm
using,
like,
right?
why not just, put it right on Google Maps?
Yeah.
Covered bridge, no
Right.
entry, but one of my friends that drives truck, they were saying that they have a different GPS unit and they have to update it all the time, just for that,
Okay.
just for that reason.
And the other thought is, thank you for not talking about taking out the bridges, the covered bridges.
Oh, no.
You know? I mean,
Can't do that.
I've heard
No.
people mutter about that, and that would
No.
be horrible.
No, that would be the wrong choice to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do get hit, but luckily no real structural damage. They did replace some wind bracing, but that's not structural on this bridge. They had one wind brace on this side down there that was broken. I don't know if
Close to the pipe.
Yeah, it was close to a sprinkler, yeah. I don't know if this truck did that or if it's been that for a while, but generally it hasn't been really structural on that bridge, luckily. But I don't know if anybody is in favor of I can pass it on in favor of the I-beam thing or the lights thing or anything like that? The laser lights?
Yeah, that seems
Everybody, yeah, I'll
smart.
pass it on to the group there that,
I'd be in favor of the laser
the
lights
laser lights,
myself.
laser lights maybe.
And then, like you said, a sign out there.
In combination with the
saying
sign,
truck
yeah.
route 1,500 feet that way.
Yeah, we could try that and see if it helps.
The sign should say one car at a time, too. One vehicle at a time.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
That'd be a
That-
pretty big sign.
Yeah, but at least if we can keep the trucks out of there, and again, it is their fault, but it's not all their fault, I can understand they get down there and they just figure, I don't know, I can't turn this thing around, and they're gonna try, get right through.
I like the laser idea.
I think that'd work.
And I think better signage.
Yep.
And every bridge is gonna have different signage needs, right?
Yep.
And different distances away from the bridge. Because we need to provide an opportunity for them to turn around at a reasonable spot.
And there is also, I noticed on the information that Jimmy Tempesta brought, that it could also activate one of those board signs, that light up the board signs there, it could say something on it. Say they put that laser right at the intersection down there where the truck pulls up to the stop sign there, and it could light up a board that says, you're too high, take the bridge 1,500 feet or something like that. But, yeah, anything other than the I-beam.
So that's the height thing. There's still
Yeah.
that possibility of somebody towing something and the combined weight is
There is
overweight.
always in tow, but the
Yeah.
weight hasn't seemed to be the problem with this bridge. It's hitting the structural damage, or not, just hitting the bridge.
I think with that one too, if you go over to Surrey's Crossing, the state's gonna tell you no.
Well, I think that'd be a I mean, the I-beam, I think it'd be a
Yeah.
liability. You know,
Yeah.
if somebody
That's why they're gonna
claims to
say.
get hurt off of that, like,
Yeah.
you know, they're gonna sue the town no matter what. That's just the way it is. You know, if you put a sign on your lawn that says keep off the grass and you put a bear trap beside it, you say, well, I had that sign there, you know, it was his problem, he went that bear trap, but he'd still be sued.
Yeah.
So, I'll pass that along, whenever, I don't know when we're gonna meet again, but I'll pass that along. The other committee, as several members on this board are on, is the Swanzey Governance Committee, and pretty much what they're doing is, I think there might be close to 20 people on that committee, 17 anyways, right? Yeah, a lot, it's another big one like the fire station one was. And just looking at the fact as to how the town government currently works, and if it could work better, we'll say with a town manager, or I don't know,
Town council was an
I
option.
guess council was another one, yeah, council.
Go get rid of the SB2.
Well, definitely, yeah, SB2 now, and traditional town meeting, go back to that, which I'll tell you now was a consensus, pretty much the whole committee said town meeting is the way to do it, go right back to that. But we're looking at those things anyway, just to see if a combination of a few of them, you know, council plus selectmen, plus whatever,
But
they're,
you can't have a council and select.
well, you can have, yeah, I mean, yeah, sorry, the manager.
Town manager and
Yeah,
the town
manager and the selectmen,
council, yeah.
right,
Then you'd be like Keene with a town council.
yeah, I don't
And
think
who
we
was
need to be
that,
like,
who was
yeah.
that, you know?
But we talked about it, and it was for larger populations, some of those ways of governing is a little bit better but our town is small still, luckily. And town meeting, it seemed to be the consensus was the way to go. So we'll see what direction that committee goes
I
in.
think this committee was formed to get people also more involved in the town government itself, because if you go to a select board meeting, there's Mark and I in the select board.
Yeah, yeah,
And once in a while Jay will show up, but that's all that's there. Planning board, well, we know we don't have anything today, but unless we have something huge like the West Swansea Apartments or some other big thing, we don't get many people into our board's meetings either, so.
no, you know, that's just the way it is. That's how it works, how it is.
Yeah, and I think maybe if we looked at possibly a budget committee, whether it be advisory, you can have two, advisory or when it's actual, to work with the selectmen and the town administrator, get more people involved, you can have 3 to 18, between 3 and 18 people on that board.
But as we see here, trying to get people to serve on this board, it's a toughie.
I know.
I just wonder if we have any idea of viewership, you know? I
Oh,
mean, don't you wonder?
I don't know.
'Cause
I don't know if you
it
can
could
tell that
be,
or not.
You know, maybe people want to stay in their jammies and, you know,
Yeah.
and watch on TV.
That's right, that's right. I don't know if, what the heck the viewership with that would be. Would you know, Adam? Very small,
Really?
minuscule? Okay, well,
It's
better
more-
than none.
But it might
Probably
be more
depends
than
on what's
we
on the
should work.
agenda too.
Yeah, it
right?
does, yeah.
I think they
It
find
is.
more people watch it the next day, they go back and watch.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Because I know if I don't make it to a meeting, then, you know, I'll
or if they need a good laugh.
put it into my schedule somewhere over
I
a week.
wouldn't trust Facebook's viewer measures, because they count everybody that scrolls past it. If you want a more accurate count, you can go to YouTube, see those videos. Some of those videos have pretty low, like 80-ish.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, yeah. And we looked at the old fire station ones, when we were on that fire station committee there, the previous ones from the previous one, and, yeah, the viewership was like
Those
3.
are painful.
They were. But, yeah, anybody else from the committee have anything else to add to that?
Is under discussion the 3 versus 5 member board? Is that?
Not really, it came up a lot, but really, the town voted it in, so regardless, we've got the 5-member board. And we haven't tried it yet. I don't know if I was in favor, I think I voted against it, but still, we haven't tried it. We might as well try it at least to see. And someone brought up at the meeting that, you know, again, it all depends on what people you vote in there too. You know, how those things work and how they work together. So, pretty much it was, I think the main concern of the selectmen was that people are being less informed about the things they're voting on. And the idea about town meeting is that when you're there, listening to all the discussion, and then you're voting on it, you are informed as to what's going on. And if you aren't there, then you aren't informed. And now with it, the deliberative session, when you aren't there, you might not have any idea what the heck that you're voting on, and you're just voting.
Less informed
It
and
is.
overwhelmed on election day.
There may be fewer people voting, who knows, maybe more for a town meeting, but at least they're knowing exactly what they're voting on.
Well, we do know the SB2 right now, we're getting an average of 150 to 200 people that actually decide the warrant for 7,500 people. So the hope is, if you go to a traditional town meeting, like Scott was saying, you've got more participation, so better decisions can be made on those warrant articles.
Yeah, because the warrant articles are already be set, fixed, just like they are now, just that there'll be more discussion on them, and when you change them, you can vote on them. You can change them now, like we do with SB2, but the actual voting comes, as we know, several weeks or a month or whatever it is later. But yeah, at the town meeting, you're making amendments to those articles that the selectmen have put forward to the voters, and in real time, amendment here, amendment there, pass, no pass, and finally you get it boiled down to something that's good, informed, people voted on it, and they voted their minds.
And not everything could be voted on in a town meeting format.
It isn't, and the committee knows that, the things about election of officers, planning board members, things like that, always gonna be a ballot, zoning amendments are always gonna be on the ballot,
Right.
not gonna be discussed at town meeting.
Because we have the public hearings.
That's why we have the hearings, yeah, but all that other stuff there, money articles, and we also brought up the fact that throughout the years, all of these articles have been condensed down to like, I don't know, they'll have several, like cemeteries, this and that, and all this thing into one article where you can't really, it's tough to vote on them separately. It used to be they were spread out, and you could bring them up separately at town meeting and up and down the money, or throw them out entirely. But now it's all just one article, and it's either all or nothing.
There's a new law also that the legislature passed this year, and was signed in by the governor, that any warrant article that incurs like a bond hearing or creates large amounts of money, an explanation of how that's gonna affect your tax rate has to be on that.
That was passed, you said, or not?
Yes, it was
That was
passed.
passed, so that'll be on our next.
That's why your warrant article's gonna get even longer. Between that and whatever we do with the wetlands thing, it's gonna be a long warrant this year.
Which is why the select board's looking to buy another voting machine, so they'll have their issues.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, can you speak up a little bit?
Which is why the select board's looking to buy a new voting machine, to have 3, because it was such an issue last year.
There was a big line there, right?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, I wasn't there then. When I came in,
Yeah.
I breezed through pretty much.
Right through.
Yeah.
It's really a balance, so like when I was looking through those old town reports, because I went back to 1980, because that's when we first adopted our wetlands ordinance, and the agenda for, or the warrant for that year was like 45 items. I mean, it had to have been just a really
And
long
back then, we
meeting.
used to argue more about the $10 item than we did the
Exactly.
$100 million
Well,
item.
would that ever change? I'm still gonna argue about that $10.
Yeah, no, it's
But if
a
it doesn't make sense to you, yeah.
pure form of democracy. We're fortunate to be able to do that. Other states, Massachusetts, they have their selectmen and stuff, but they don't have town meeting. Connecticut or whatever, they just gotta go what the town council decides for them, and that's it.
City King.
Here,
It's a
the city of
big-
Keene, same way. Here, you can go in, and no matter who you are, you can state whatever you think about it, and sometimes you change everybody's mind. You never know.
But I'm just wondering if consolidating the warrant a little bit maybe was a result of trying to not,
Oh, maybe that-
it was a disincentive to have the meeting go on for 5 hours, because people just don't have that endurance.
It seemed to shrink after we went on SB2, I think. It seemed to get smaller and smaller that way. And it was just easier, I guess, just to put it all together, one vote, yes or no, for all that big money, for whatever those figures were.
But that's changing too, because now we also got your attorneys involved, that certain warrant articles have to be done a certain way, in certain language, and
They
that's
do,
where
right.
people get confused, because the language gets in there, they don't understand legalese.
True, but that's where town
It
meeting
can be
comes in.
tough. It can
That's
be
where
tough.
town meeting comes in, though, you discuss
That's
that
why
out.
town meeting is better.
See what the
yes.
heck it means,
If
yeah.
you don't understand something, the town attorney's there, and he can explain it to you in layman's terms.
Or someone can explain to you what he just said.
Yeah.
Can you recall,
Usually.
did the town's legal person attend the town meeting?
Yes.
Because he would have to rule on the validity of any amendment. or
They always
anything.
did, and they do
It's-
SB2 meetings too. I mean, deliberative session, I'm pretty sure the
Oh,
town
that was
attorney is
always
always here.
Yeah,
Yeah, if a legal question comes up, yeah.
yeah.
You gotta have a strong moderator, though.
You have to have a good moderator, I
Yes,
mean,
you have a
yeah,
Stacy Cole
a
type.
really good moderator to run the meeting, yeah, that's a big, important part of it.
Mike, did you have
What else?
something about, going on people's property?
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up next.
Oh, no, we're out of time.
So my concern was that, and I was told by Scott that apparently when somebody has an application, board members are allowed to go on people's property. The only issue I have with that is that we should probably notify these people before we go on their property. I think it opens up a liability for the town if we just walk on someone's property. If they're, I understand they got the permit, they signed off that said you can, but just going on there, if something gets broken, well, they're not there and you're the only one there, the town could be liable for that, or you get hurt while you're on their property. I just think that we should at least notify these property owners once they have the application, hey, we're gonna come visit, or I'm gonna come, because I wanna see what's going on.
I agree with you, really, you know, it's been this way, and I've been guilty of it many times, going on property, you know, because it says we can do it in our site plan review application, but maybe we ought to just take that out of there, because the board can visit, we can vote to have a site visit to this particular site and just go visit it as a board, rather than this person calling up, I wanna go now, whatever it is. So maybe we ought to take it off of there, because you do have a good point there, even though I've done it, but you have a good point. What do you think we ought to do? What do you think we ought to do?
I'm in favor of it. I'm at least in favor of amending that section of the application to say with prior notice or something to that effect. I really think the property owner should be notified. I don't like the idea of just a single person going out there alone.
I don't either.
I want the property owner to be notified at least of any, like, that way they can relay any, like, hazards or anything that they might want to know for the property.
Well, what's your thoughts about taking it right off of there then?
That's, I mean, I think we can. I think legally we're fine, but, I do like having it on there, but I think it needs to be with prior notice.
Okay.
I do think it's important to have on there for certain cases.
But could we not make a policy amongst ourselves that we won't go alone and we'll notify the, owner?
We'll probably have to, yeah.
Yeah.
Stacy, what do you think?
I agree.
Yeah. Richard?
I'm not really sure yet.
Okay. And you, Michael?
Yeah, I think we, will take that off if that's what you're asking, but also I think we need to notify before we go, and, we probably should never go alone, just for safety's sake.
So, yeah, if we take it off, then anytime we want to visit a site, it'll have to be through a consensus of the board, a motion to have a site visit to
I
the
think
site.
that's the way
That
it
doesn't
should
mean
be anyway,
you can't drive
personally.
on the public road, stand on the
Oh, you can do
road and
that,
look,
yeah, you can do
as
that.
long as
Look.
you're not entering the
Yeah.
property.
Yeah. I think we should just take it off and just go as a group at some point, you know, we can drive by, like he just said, we can just drive by. Mark?
So just taking Mike's thought just a little bit further, drive by, you're looking at the property, somebody comes and greets you, you tell them who you are. At that point, if he wants to allow you on the property.
That's different, yeah.
Okay, I just
Way
wanted to.
different, yeah. You wanted to clarify that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it should be on there, but it should be with prior approval.
Victoria?
Well, I'm thinking about the scenarios that I often do. So one is drive-by, and the other is often it's already a public, it's a business that's open to the public. And I have no qualms about, driving through their parking lot the way any other person would. So that's not what we're talking about, right?
Not
We're
really,
talking
no.
about
We're talking about
brand-new
getting out of the
development,
car,
like a vacant lot.
walking
popping
around their
out
building and all
one
that stuff.
Well, I
which
have been known to get out, but
I've done it too. but
like
Mark
at
has a
this
point.
Tommy's Way place, right?
Mhm.
I drove in there, it's business, everything's going
Yeah.
on, and I did get out of my car just to try to, see what's going on, but it's a public situation,
Right,
so.
it is, yeah.
So we're talking about new construction, where we won't be able to, we have to,
We
wander
probably
around.
can't single it out. It's either gotta be one or the other, either a site visit by the board, or we keep it on there with proper notice, or we take it off of there. That's what we're deciding.
Well,
Mark?
I think definitely prior notice.
Prior notice. Leave it on prior notice.
Yeah.
Brandon?
I'd be fine either way, but I'd lean more towards taking it right off from there, because again, any time that we've done anything, it's been as a planning board, going
Of
to
our
do a
regular site
walk.
visits, yeah.
yeah, it's helpful to do the group site visits. I learn a lot
It
from
is.
those things.
Yeah. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, I think going with, or leaving it on with, and then notifying because not all of us are going to be able to make a site visit at the same time. This would
That's
be
true.
a little more flexibility for the planning board. If we need, we feel as though we need to look at something, we have an opportunity. We make contact with the individual or the company that we're gonna be there. The other thing that I would like to have seen all of us get is some sort of identification to show that we're on the planning board. And this is something that I asked about before and really didn't get very far with. But I think if we had, that would help us, some sort of,
Like a secret
Identification.
service of the planning board badge?
yeah, planning board, I'm a member of the planning board.
Well, yeah, I see.
But no, but it would help identify and might make it a little easier.
Well, I don't know about the badges, but yeah, your point about not everyone can make a site visit is correct. Yeah, not everyone can make the site visit, so maybe for now, we ought to leave it on and add into it with proper prior notice. I don't know, 5 days prior notice, 2 days prior notice, something. We ought to put a little time limit on there. Just can't say prior notice.
I'll be over in 10 minutes.
You have to have a time, yeah, you have to have a time limit on there. And if you get that on by the next meeting, the board can vote, I suppose, on it, or we could vote now, one or the other. Let's vote now, and then you can just put it on there, right?
Somebody's gotta make a motion of what we wanna do.
I'll make a motion that we keep the section in our site plan application that states that by signing it, you give the planning board permission to go onto their property with, we'll say, 3 days prior notice.
Can you amend that to say all relevant applications? Because I actually think this language is present a lot more.
Which other applications do you think? Oh, in our other ones,
Maybe subdivision, I haven't looked at all of them.
I'll amend it to all the applications just in case. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think you're right about subdivision one.
It's in
So
subdivision for sure. It might not,
I'll amend it to all the applications then.
yeah.
And that it say with, it's 3 days prior notice, something.
That's fair.
Would that work for you, think,
That's
everybody?
fair.
3 days prior notice. Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mark. Yeah, he should have seconded. He brought it up. It was Mark. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? There was something else, Mark, that you mentioned to me you were gonna bring up. Was there or wasn't there? It was
Well,
after the last meeting, I think.
Yeah, I think that as far as, unless we have direct knowledge of somebody doing something, we shouldn't bring
Oh.
up suggesting that
Oh, yeah, yeah.
a business might have done something, or
Yeah.
if we don't know, we should just leave it alone.
Not to mention any names, that he's talking about you. The last
In
time.
reference to
You
what?
were- Wasn't it you? Oh,
No,
no, it
it
was
was-
Mark. It was this Mark right here. When you're
About the-
saying that you had heard they
about the
dumped
pool?
chlorine, the prior company, it was a rumor that they dumped chlorine or something in the back there. What the selectmen are saying is that unless we have proof, we probably shouldn't bring it up at a public meeting. So,
Somebody who worked there told me, but
yeah, but again, you didn't
get
see it, so there's no proof. So we probably ought to keep it to ourselves, I guess.
Keeping you
make
out
them
of trouble
happy.
too, Mark.
Yep.
Keeping you out of trouble too,
It is.
yeah. 'Cause you make a claim like that, somebody could come after you.
All right, what else do we have? Anything?
Well, excuse me, going back, if there is something there, and someone's hiding something, and it's leaching in there, we don't discover it.
No, but if you suspect it, rather than bringing it up at a public meeting, where it's right on the record,
Who do you go
Go to
to?
see the code enforcement officer and say,
Okay.
I think this is, I've heard it, and you have, the code enforcement officer has the authority to just check it out, find out.
Okay, he has the ability to go in and do
And
a
authority
test
from the
dig or
selectmen.
whatever he
He's got-
wants.
He's their representative, so he has the authority to do it as well.
He can go and ask, and then if they don't wanna
Mm-hmm.
comply, then they'll have to go get a warrant to search the property.
Yeah, but they can, that's the way to handle it. It'd happen that way anyways, even if it's brought up at this meeting, but selectmen are saying, and I agree, I think that it's best not brought up at a public meeting unless we know.
So does it go through the selectmen? So if we're concerned about something, we tell the code enforcement, does the code enforcement officer need to go to the selectmen and get,
That's
sign
between
off?
them, I guess. You could go to both,
just
but
curious,
Yeah,
does that
I
work?
don't believe so, I think if.
They can just go?
He can just go.
I'd go right to the code enforcement officer
Yeah,
because
what I
that's
would
who's
do
gonna
too.
be handling
He
it.
knows more about it than we would.
Anything else?
The Conservation Commission has agreed for September 11th.
And that's what tentatively put down last time too, is September 11th for the
So they
joint meeting.
agreed on that date,
Okay,
so please plan on it. I don't have any pending applications right now. Today was the application deadline, so
Okay.
it's a pretty good date for it.
then good. Then we get a good date. All right. September 11th will be our joint meeting with the Conservation Commission. Bring your battle gear, and we'll be ready to go. Anything else?
Yeah, I'll be fired up because I got medical things to do up in Lebanon that day.
I'll try and keep
Go
you
to
calm
the
over here.
MRI tube for a while.
Anybody else have anything else? If not, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
I'll make that motion.
Motion to adjourn by Brandon, seconded by
I'll second.
Richard. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And we're out. And don't forget to read